Okay, welcome to this week's Code Cookie. I'm gonna do a Pokemon plugin. So far is I created a drop-down and I created a web service. So this is a drop-down with a search, validate, and get categories, get default function. And I'm utilizing the Poke API. The Poke API is an open API, so you can use it without any authentication. You can just send, let's see, we can click on Pokemon, and you can just send in a get command here and specify the ID or name of the Pokemon in the URL. And what I've done is I've basically said through this query that I want 1,000 first Pokemon, and that means all Pokemon. And then I will go in and get all of them, and through the results I will just filter Pokemon that has a name like the one that you put in search, meaning the one that you wrote into the dropdown. And then I will take out the name, and I will make a little, I made a little code here to make the first letter of the name in uppercase, because it comes in all in lowercase. And then I had a little expression to get the ID of the Pokemon, because I just want the ID. And I get that from the URL of the returned object. So if I run these two, we can have a quick look. And it's very fast. I'll get a count, so it's 964. And no. Results. And that's an array, I think. Yeah. Number 100 is a electrode, and we just get the name and the URL, and we can use the URL to get the whole Pokemon with another REST call. But we don't need to do that here. And we have a validate function, which will be triggered when you use JavaScript in the form and send in a value of a Pokemon. So if you send in 10, that's what comes in search. I will just try to create a URL of that and then get it. And if we get any objects, I'll throw it back like a validated value. We have 0 categories, no get default. And then we create a web service. Just save here, go to the store. I've created a service here. And if we look on that in the admin page, this is a drop-down that I linked to the drop-down that I just created. I've added some dynamic search delay, because remember we retrieve all the Pokemons, and I don't want it to fire for every key input that you put in the drop-down. So if you just put 2-3 characters in there, it will add a short delay before firing the drop-down. And I also specify that you need to at least put 2 characters in there before we even fire it at all. Let's try it. So, okay, a cool Pokemon Tyranitar. I use the web service here to draw the Pokemon. Let's have a look at that as well. So I have a text block that I call res. The identifier is res. And if I could look up this JavaScript, I just call the web service with the ID parameter with the value from the drop-down Pokemon. And then I log it in the console just for debugging, and then I put it in the results from the web service I put into the res field. And if we look at the code itself on the web service, I just fire off to get the Pokemon by ID. So I put the ID parameter in the URL, and then I call their use the invoke rest method commandlet, and I get the Pokemon. If we run this real fast, let's set ID to something first. ID is 666. I wonder which Pokemon that is. Should perhaps be a very evil Pokemon, if you ask me. Res. Okay, and now we have a name there. Vivillon. Cool. And if we look on sprites, we have all the sprites as well. And I'm going to use front default here. That seems to exist on most Pokemon. They also have a shiny one. Alright, so then I created a new PS custom object because I initially wanted to use this old commandlet. And if we take a look on that first, I didn't quite like the result there. Pikachu. So we get the table here. It doesn't seem very suitable. I want to create a div instead, and then I put like some divs inside it with the name and the ID, and then I have the image just below it. Maybe we could have a div around that as well. So we can maybe do some additional styling there. And we select Bulbasaur. And that's how it turns out. And it comes back all in lowercase. Here we can use the steal this code. Name. Okay, I need to. There. Doot. And if I take Squirtle, okay, we get uppercase. And we can continue mess around with this. I actually found, if you're interested in Pokemon Go, there's one Go API, Rapid API. There's an Rapid API has a Pokemon Go API that you can use. And you can do some cool stuff there as well. And to use this, you must have an account at Rapid API. It's free just to register. And if you then you go into the API you're interested in my case, Pokemon Go. And then it will actually, in this case, automatically create a key for me in the example here. So that's unique for my account. And they have some other APIs where you have to click on pricing here and select the free plan before you can use it. Or alternatively, pay if they don't have a free version. Typically, there's some restriction to number of queries per time. So we can just look at all the stuff we can retrieve from this Pokemon Go API. There's some stats, and you can do some analysis of that stats if you like. The maximum CP might be interesting if you play this game. Also, the available shiny Pokemon is perhaps interesting. Other than that, there's not like any GPS data of locations of Pokemon or anything, because they had like an unofficial API before, and since the Pokemon Go app communicates with their backend through a REST API, they've like spent 6 months of development to stop people from retrieving GPS coordinates for Pokemons in the wild. So there's some unofficial APIs you could use for that, but I think that this is pretty neat in the meantime. Alright, thanks for watching and see you next time.